question.
I forgot. It's okay. I forgot I told my wife that. So.
Camera come back on that
part. I'll edit it. But the way that I look at marriage, and I think why so many people don't like marriage, and that's one of the things that we're not supposed to say. Nobody's ever supposed to say that. We're supposed to say it's been 100 years, and I've loved it for 100 years, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing. You know, that's what we're supposed to say. But the key is this: how I look at it. I'm sure there's a bunch of men in here. Women, do y'all watch sports?
No.
Not at all.
A little bit.
A little bit. What kind of sports you like?
Basketball.
Basketball. All right. I'm sure all the men, for the most part, watch sports. I feel like marriage. What? I feel like marriage is like, you know, like if you're down 3 points, if you're down 2 points, if I'm Boston and I played in Miami and I'm down 2 points, a coach may say, well, let's go for the 3 because we're not at home. The crowd is on their side. Let's go for the win. So as a coach, Doctor is going to put out the perfect plan for this to work. But the only way that the play works is if everybody's in the right position. And if you're not in the right position, the play isn't going to work. And Paul Pierce may have 50 points, but Doc says, nah, you ain't going to shoot the ball. You just screen for Ray Allen. Now, if you don't know what screen is, that basically means I just kind of block your man for you. But you as Paul Pierce may feel like, nah, I'm scoring 50 points. I want the ball. So the thing is to me that marriage is like the perfect plan that God put together. But it's about, are we going to be in the right position to make it work? Are you going to be able to be humble sometimes and say, you know what, let me apologize to my wife? Because there have been times me and T been arguing, and I feel God put on my heart, go apologize to your wife. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Sorry, God, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to buck the system. And that's what makes marriage hard. So a lot of times we're the ones that make marriage hard because you know what you should do. You know when you're wrong. You know, we got common sense, you know, but it's just we can't swallow that pride. One time, me and T were arguing because she said, you spend all the money, and then when I want to buy something, there ain't no money. And I was like, I don't spend all that money. You know, she was like, well, you buy books and CDs and this. And I was like, man, a book is like $30 and a CD is good. So we arguing, and I just ruined Valentine's Day. So I go home and I check the checkbook. And I'm like, yo, in a month, I've spent over $500 on books, CDs, records, and everything. I didn't think I did. Because, you know, when you just buying a CD, it's just, and these were back in the days when CDs were like $15.99. You buy 3, 4 CDs, that's $60.
Yeah.
You know, so I knew I was wrong. And it took me 5 hours to go to her and apologize. 5 hours. I just couldn't do it.
It took you the whole month.
I couldn't do it because I just was like, I can't admit that I'm wrong. Now, this may have been 4 years in a marriage. So it's like I wasn't mature enough. Because marriage is like a kid. You know, when you have a kid, a 4-year-old, my daughter really can't do much. And it pisses me off that she can't do much. You know, I'm just asking her, like, when are you going to be able to get yourself dressed? Every day. Like, this is tiring. Like, what age is this? Like, people are like, y'all should have more kids. I'm like, I'll adopt a kid at whatever age this kid can get dressed by himself.
Naomi, Daddy loves you.
Because I don't want, I love her. But I don't want, I'm tired of taking care of people. But that's how a marriage is. So when you feel like you've been in this marriage 5 years, but it's still a baby. You know, it still really can't do anything on its own. So it takes time. So back to what you were saying, the whole point is that, you know, we've got to get marriages nowadays to last and be happy. Yeah. You know, and be happy. So
Mike, you had a question?
Yeah, remember I was talking about to touch on how you said that most of the time the man kind of causes confusion in marriage. Because mainly I think because our ego and pride.
Yeah.
And remember I was saying how that's something I kind of want to put together. You know, something like a men-only thing where we can, you know, kind of talk about not going 5 hours just to say sorry, you know what I mean, or understanding when you're wrong.
And I'm sorry, let me ask you a question. You said what? That men are the cause for the confusion?
No, I was just saying.
Oh, okay. I thought you was just blaming us. Like, y'all got the confusion with y'all. Okay, cool.
Y'all saw how I almost got in trouble? Jeez.
Cool. I thought you were saying we are the problem.
No. We were actually having a conversation in terms of, I think it was about vulnerability and how it's so hard for men to become vulnerable, and because you don't show us your vulnerabilities, it leaves us in a position to try to figure out what's going on. And if you could just tell us, we would stop nagging you. Life would be, yeah, we would.
It ain't go both ways, though.
No, you wouldn't. That's in your nature today. And that's okay. I've accepted that.
I ain't accepted that.
You ain't accepted? Well, see, I've just been
I'm working.
Yeah, but after a while, dog, you'll accept it because it's just
but
like,
see,
you know what?
The thing about nagging is when you're asking someone to do something, the reason why you have to keep asking them to do it because they haven't done it. So that's why you keep asking them. So
that's your definition of nagging. That's another thing with marriage. Men and women have two different definitions for every word.
What's your definition?
Nagging? You know what? T got in the car the other day and she was like, this car smells like kids. And my kids are in my car.
Yeah.
This car smells like kids. She said it like 6 times. Now, I wanted to say, well, you can clean it. I mean, it don't take much to take, hand the rag for you to clean the car. You know what I'm saying? What? Because I'll give you a great example. Me and you married, right? And I keep saying, man, this kitchen dirty, Roz. This kitchen dirty, Roz. This kitchen dirty, Roz.
Yeah, but I go clean it.
There you go. So why is it you looking at me crazy because I said it's about her, but if I say you gonna be like, yo, you got an arm and a broom right there, go clean it. But a woman is like, you do it, why I gotta clean it? I don't have a problem with it. I don't smell nothing.
Yeah, you got his point.
But it doesn't matter. If there's something wrong, it doesn't always have to necessarily be you do it. You can step up and do it. Because I know if I keep telling T this bathroom dirty, she's gonna be like, well, clean it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So,
but were you finished?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but really, if you no matter who you be with, you're gonna find problems.
Oh yeah.
And what I'm saying is, don't you think that another key to continuing in a marriage is that you always look at the positive side of things and not find the negative? Because you're gonna find negative no matter who you be with. And if you always concentrate on the negative, then you're never gonna make the relationship go any further.
No, yeah, absolutely right.
And then on top of that, with my ex-wife, I had to get to a point, and I had to get to a point where the things that she did long ago had to cease. I had the kids to concentrate on. And so whatever I did for the kids, it had to be helping her, but it was for the kids, and not concentrate on what she did. And to make the second marriage work, because when people walk out on you, you always say, I ain't never married nobody again in my whole entire life. So you kind of pinpoint that nobody else is ever worth the time that you got to give them. Right. So I guess would one of the points be in a long marriage, not only communication, but also to concentrate only on the positive things in the person that you marry?
I think so. I mean, but the key is marriage is about maturity. It's like what I tell my young girls I got girls who are 11 and 12 getting pregnant. And I'm telling them, once you start having sex, you're playing a grown man game now. See, like, you're no longer a kid now. Because now as a kid, you just play. You don't got to worry about STDs and if you're pregnant. And so many of my kids now, people don't realize that the crack babies of the 80s are now teenagers, So some of my kids have HIV. Some of them know it, some of them don't. Yeah. Some of them have it and still having sex. Like, well, why my life got to, like you were saying about how we look at pleasure. Like, why do I got to stop having fun, having sex? Because my parents were on crack. I didn't do nothing. So now you got all these little kids having sex with each other, spreading HIV around. So I think one of the key things is, and this is how I'm getting old, because I forgot where I was going. I totally lost. Your question, I'm sorry.
Well,
my brain goes
is concentrate on the positive things.
The positive things. A thing I was saying, maturity. Like, after a while, it took me 11 years to get to a point that my New Year's resolution this year was to look at the positives of not just my marriage, but everything. My MacBook died on me. I'm mad, but I'm like, well, let me look at the positive that I have the warranty on it so I can get it fixed. Because you're right, you could just get caught up in this brand new MacBook, 1700, you know what I'm saying? And these Macs are supposed to be virus-free and the greatest computers, and my PC work better, you know what I mean? So trying to look at the positive, so you're absolutely right. It's looking at, because you will look at the negatives, but it takes so much time, and it's like what happens with a lot of couples is you don't get to 11 years to be mature enough to realize, let me focus on the positive. Because you're right, anything nowadays can break up a marriage. Yeah, by age 3, you have resentment. Right. The whole point is that, like, when you were talking about sacrifice, and sacrifice, I think, is the big piece of marriage. But I never knew what sacrifice was until I had a daughter. Like, I thought I knew what sacrifice was. Like, I'm like, Raj, you ain't got no money, or I'll pay for lunch. Like, I'll sacrifice $5. Like, I thought that was a sacrifice. I'm such a sacrificial person. But it wasn't until I had a daughter, and it's like, okay, I could send her to a good school that costs a G a month, or I could send her to the public school down the street. And it's like, nah, I'm a sacrifice getting a new car, because with a G a month, I could have the BMW I think I deserve. You know, I could have the bigger house that I think me and my wife deserve, but I'm gonna sacrifice those things so that she can get her education. See, that's what sacrifice is really about. And it's like, we do it for our kids. And that's the key. If we can get the love we have for our kids, for our spouses, that's really what it's about, because God calls it agape love, and it's not based off of an emotion. And see, that's what it is. It's like the hard part about money in marriage is that, the hardest part about marriage to me is you're growing old together, so you're changing. So see, you're marrying me, you may marry me right now at 18. But when you're 24, you may want something different than when you wanted at 18. So now I gotta change with that, so you're constantly renegotiating that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of just like, T married me, I was fun, I was outgoing, I was like you, spontaneous. Who cares if it's a Wednesday night? Let's just go out. Then about 2 years, and I always joke about this with my wife, I say she killed me. Because I was perfectly healthy before I married her. Like, I married her, I got fibromyalgia, sleep apnea, prostatitis. It was like my health just went bananas. So now I'm not the outgoing person I used to be. Because with fibromyalgia, if y'all know, it's a disease of the bones and the joints, so I'm always in pain. So like my legs hurt, my wrist hurts, everything hurts. So sometimes I'm moody. So now she had to deal with me now being moody. I'm not the same fun person, now I'm moody, I'm irritable now. You know, but like you said, you can't leave, you know, because that would be wrong, right? Yeah. She like, hell no, I'm leaving. You 18. You're supposed to leave at 18. But the whole thing is that that's what and people don't really look at the vows. Yeah. Because the vows are really for sickness or in health. And it's that way because if we're really supposed to be together for 20 years, we're all going to get sick in this room. Yeah. Sad to say, I know y'all young and everything, y'all going to get sick. Some people, God forbid, are going to get cancer. Some people are going to get, I have friends who are 36 with MS and all kind of leukemia, you know, all kind, you're going to get sick. And you don't want somebody to just bounce on you because you're sick. Even if you do become irritable, guess what? At one time or point, everybody in this room will lose their job. Trust me, you will. Whether it's through layoffs, you get fired, whatever. You don't want me to leave you because you was making $80,000 and now you at the unemployment office. That would be wrong, right? You'd be like, he ain't love me. Why? She keep up. She's like, I don't know about you.
At the point, guys, remember a couple of weeks back, we talked about emotional dissonance. You guys remember that, where your emotions have to change. And I don't really think that people are aware of that. And you know, you get into relationships, honestly, we change about, everybody changes about every 3 to 6 months. Something different about us changes. And not to say that everybody in our lives is going to accept that change. So if you know that you were having a change, you got to be willing to accept that change in someone else. I had a question. Somebody had their hand up. Kingsley, I think it was you.
I was just wondering, is it wrong when you sacrifice to expect the same, you know? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, you know, what, you know, you need this, you need that, whatever. I'm gonna sacrifice, I'm gonna do whatever. You get yours. But then when it's my turn, is it wrong for me to expect the same thing?
How long have you been married?
2 years.
Okay.
Like I said, like that. I think it's 2 years.
Yo, 2 years is great.
Yeah, I got
no, the way he said it was like,
yeah, 2 years.
I think the key is where your heart is. Yeah. Now, like, in my marriage, I would do things to get something back. So, if I know I want some, and I know my wife likes flowers, I'm going to give her flowers so I could get some. You see what I'm saying? Right. That's wrong. Because that's not, I'm only doing this for you to get something. It's like tit for tat. It's like the barter system.
It's getting yourself needs met.
Then what happens is when I don't get some, now I'm mad. Now you don't get no flowers no more because I ain't getting them. So it has to be a position where it's like, I'm going to get this for you for no reason. I'm not expecting anything back. But, so if you're sacrificing because you want to sacrifice back, that's wrong. Sacrifice just because you want to do that. Now, if she's not sacrificing back, that's where, like you said, the communication comes in. Because it's like, I feel like I'm doing X, Y, and Z for the marriage, and I feel like you're not, and that's not fair. So I think that's where the communication piece comes into. And another thing about marriage that's so hard is that sometimes, like you said, it takes, it's almost like, how old are y'all? Y'all are young, right?
Flow of ages.
All right. Like when I'm 36, so when I was growing up, I'm from Philly. So when I was growing up, the whole neighborhood looked out for me. the whole neighborhood looked out for all the kids. So even if my mom wasn't home, but I was cutting school, my neighbor would beat me, then he'd keep me and wait till my mom to come home for her to beat me. And it was like the whole neighborhood helped raise me. And it's like nowadays, it's just like, yo, I don't care, you know, what your kids doing, whatever. I don't see nothing. No, they home, they still in the car. Hey, that's on them, bad parents. And it's the same thing with marriages. It's like you need people who kind of like help you with this marriage, because it's not easy. You know, so the whole thing is, it's been times where like I had to like literally tell my wife, like I felt like I was in an interrogation room. Like I'm not saying another word without my lawyer present, meaning my counselor, because everything I'm telling you, you're taking totally different. I'm telling you something, and you're hearing something totally different. And I'm like, I'm not saying another word until my lawyer's present. Because you taking what I'm saying and switching it up. Like, yo, was you on the block 8 o'clock? Yeah. Well, that's when he got shot, so you did it. No, I ain't do it. You know? That's why you should never talk to cops without a lawyer. Because they're going to take what you say and use it against you. And it's kind of like, that's the whole thing. So you got to talk to your wife about that. And if it doesn't pan out right, go to counseling. I love counseling. I look at counseling like the same thing with basketball. It's like training. It's like practicing, you know, but for some reason, a lot of times, and not to, you know, get racial, but black folk, we don't like counseling. Like, we don't want to talk. I got friends who are like, wait a second, Kil, you pay somebody $160 an hour to listen to your problems? Dog, just buy me a chicken cheesesteak and I'll listen to your problems, you know? But it's about trying to get that advice to try to get better in your marriage. So it's an investment. It's like your marriage is literally like a car. You buy a car, you get new rims, you get a new system. You do all this stuff to invest in this. You get a house, you get new hardwood floors. So you've got to spend money to invest in your marriage to make it better. So you just got to have that open communication with your wife.
And also, Kings, now I want to say this. You have to understand why marriage was designed. God designed marriage for us to focus on each other's needs. And so if you, and trust me, I'm so guilty of this, because I'm quick. Y'all know I can talk.
For real?
You already know. I am quick to tell my husband, like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, I need this, I need that, I need this. And then he's like, well, guess what, Roz? I need this, 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 this. And I'm like, I thought I was meeting those needs. You know, so he kind of puts me in check. But if I'm solely focused on trying to meet his needs, then I don't have time to focus on mine. And preferably, he's focusing on meeting my needs. And that's really what marriage was designed for. It was designed for us to be dependent upon each other. The problem is, we come into it with our independent selves, and we're still selfish. Oh, yeah. And at some point, you got to think about which life you want to nurture. Your life by yourself, his life by himself, or the life that you have together.
But see, it's all based off of what's your background for marriage. Because everybody's going to have a different way of looking at marriage. Right. Like you were saying, me and my wife, you know, it was more of a biblical background. So from a biblical perspective, you know, there were things going into marriage I didn't know. I thought if I wanted to move to Philly and she didn't, we would just flip a coin. You know what I'm saying?
What?
No, I'm dead serious. Because,
are you serious?
Yeah, because I mean, how are we just going to keep fighting? We disagree. So how are we going to solve the problem? But
Kil, are you serious?
Word is born. Yeah, I thought that was the way you were solving. So, yeah. I go to premarital class at my church, and they're like, nah, you make the final decision. And I was like, I don't want to make the final decision because I don't want to be the go-to ball player. Because when you're the go-to ball player, when you lose, you lost the game.
Yep.
The Sixers ain't lose, Iverson lost the game. So I didn't want that responsibility. You know, so it's kind of like, it's the way that you're coming into the marriage, you know? How are we going to solve the problem if I want to move and you want to stay?
How about you see what the job market looks like, if you can find out? Well, flip a coin.
How are we supposed to squash?
Dude, if
that is probably the simplest way to do it.
But
I mean, come on.
But what I'm just saying is that's what I mean by people come in marriages with different ways. In the Bible, it says, don't let the sun set on an argument. In other words, we should stop arguing. We should not go sleep mad at each other. Because if you go sleep mad at each other, it's going to stir in you. You're going to wake up the next morning, and you're still going to be mad. So the Bible is like, don't do that. Somebody, my man, he'll not talk to his wife for 3 weeks. They won't speak for 3 weeks. Like it's nothing. And I'm like, yo, you started talking to your wife? He's like, nah, we text each other about the kids, but that's about it. You know what I mean? So that's the way it works for their marriage. Now, to me, that's dysfunctional. To them, that works. So it's all about kind of how you're coming into the marriage and different things like that. So, like Roz said, the whole point of marriage is for me to give to you and for you to give to me. So I shouldn't have to worry about my needs. Because my thing is, wait a second, if you ain't cooking, you ain't cleaning, you ain't giving me nothing, why am I with you? What's the point? Like, it's got to be a reason why I'm there. You go to work every day because you get a job. Y'all are paying for this class to get credits. Y'all weren't paying for this class to get nothing out of it. So at the end of the day, it's kind of like, and that's what happens. Or I'm thinking about Roz, so I'm meeting her needs, but then Roz thinking about Roz. So then ain't nobody meeting up my needs.
That's similar to the sacrificing, though. It's kind of, if I'm a sacrifice, I should expect the same way, you know, when I'm...
But that's what I'm saying. You got to make sure that your wife is on the same page that you're on. Because y'all, just because you're married don't mean y'all on the same page. So that's why you got to kind of have that talk to be like, look, this is where I'm at. I'm about sacrifice. I'm about doing whatever is best for the marriage.
I want to hear from some of the women. Well, I know it's only 3 of us in here, but you guys are so quiet. But I think Jasmine, bless her heart, I think you're scared her. You told her to sit down.
No, I told her to sit down because she's a kid. She's a kid.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, you're not a kid. I know she's a grown. I know disrespect. I'm 36 and I feel like I'm 50. So that's why I'm just saying you're a kid. You're 18. You have your whole life ahead.
You are hopefully, but no, I mean. I don't even know if I want to get married. Like, that's not something that I was like raised into. Like, my parents they were engaged when they had me. So like I was raised in a household with my mom and dad, but they weren't married. And so like my mom always we never had like to talk about guys, like what you need like to look for in a man. I kind of just watched the relationship between my mom and my dad. But
are they still together?
No.
Okay.
And the relationships of my friends' parents, like I spent a lot of time like at my friend's house and I seen their parents, and it was like none of them were married, and most of them had like the dad were absent or the father figure weren't there, and mine isn't now. So like I never was dependent on a guy, even to like my relationships right now. I never asked for anything. Like my mom, that's just one thing like I seen about my mom that I admire. Like we never actually spoke about like what you should look for in a guy, but just how she works. I just admire that. Like, be independent, make your own money. Don't ever like if you actually decide to get married or whatever the situation is between your spouse, they move in your house, never move in theirs. Even if a guy takes you out, like common sense. And he says he's gonna pay. Always bring your money. Always offer to pay for yourself before he offers to pay for you. Like just to show.
Sound like an
attitude.
But I mean,
but you know, see, what do we say about attitudes though? What are attitudes based on?
And it's like,
what's the cab effect? Our cognitions, our thoughts. Affect, how we feel about things, and how we think and how we feel about something is how we will behave. So if in her household, you know, her mom's doing, and I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, I'm sure your mom had to do what she had to do, you know, but if her experience was, I can't depend on this dude, and I gotta make sure, I'm not saying about you, I'm just,
oh yeah, that's okay.
I can't depend on this dude, so I gotta make sure I'm straight for my daughter and myself. And if that's the lesson that you learn from her, I don't necessarily think that's an attitude or a bad lesson. I think that kind of prepares you for maybe some downfalls that may occur in relationships. And I think that's probably...
And that's all of us, because what we're bringing into our marriage is our childhood.
Absolutely.
See, I used to think, before I started going to counseling, I was like, oh, I've been this way since I was 18. But then I realized, like, I'm a pessimistic, my wife is optimistic. Like, I'm like, the world's going to end, she's like, the world is never going to end. So we're just total opposites. And I realized that I was a pessimist because growing up in the hood, I figured if I didn't expect a lot for Christmas, I could never be disappointed. So if you don't expect a lot, you can't be disappointed. So it kind of set me up to think that, hey, if I get 2 presents, hey, that's great. Instead of expecting 100 presents and then you get 2 and I'm disappointed. So growing up, I thought that I could kind of like chase disappointment away, which you can't, because you're going to be disappointed regardless. But that's why I'm so pessimist and she's such an optimistic. So the same thing what she's going into. So if she marries a dude like you, y'all are gonna have problems. You know, because of the way that she was raised. And the problem is that none of us, for the most part, think anything was wrong with the way we were raised. We all think we were probably raised the best. You know what I'm saying? And then when we have kids, now I want to raise my daughter the way I was raised. But my wife wants to raise, like her mom had her in everything. Every Saturday, dance, got to stay busy. I was the chill out kid. I'm like, dog, I do school Monday through Friday. It's a wrap. Saturday and Sunday is my time. So I'm like, I don't want my daughter in 50 different things. You know what I'm saying? So it's always going to be that back and forth. But the hard part is, and it really comes back to men, we're the ones who really dropped the ball. Like back in the 50s and the 60s, we were the ones who left the house. And then Big Mama had to raise the family by themselves. So these women saw responsible women, hard-working women, making it happen, doing it. Pop wasn't around, Pop would come, go, whatever. So Mama raised them, be independent. Get yours. Get your degree, get your money, get all those things. Now you're independent, now you get married, and now you're supposed to be dependent. And it ain't gonna work like that. It's not just gonna work from a person saying, I'm independent, I make $100,000. It almost comes back to, what do I need you for? Like my homegirl, what do I need? You make 30. What am I doing with 30,000? And that's where the two worlds collide. But it comes back to when Big Mama had to raise that house. You know, because growing up, I'm sure especially in the hood, there was always a Big Mama. There was always a mother or a grandmother on the block who held it down. My grandmother was working till she was like 60-something years old, like 2-3 jobs, cleaning, doing whatever, and women see that, and it's like, yeah, that's my mom. She held it down, and I'm gonna be like her. You see what I'm saying? But the thing, Big Mama, and this is what we have to do with our kids. We gotta do this with our friends. We gotta share. We gotta talk. Big Mama gotta say, look, I know your daddy ain't here. Maybe your daddy wasn't the best man, but there are some good men out there. Because what happens is a lot of mothers will scar their daughters and be like, there ain't no good men out there. Men ain't nothing. Men ain't nothing. Don't depend on them. Don't do nothing. If you get married, have your little secret stash in the fireplace so if the Negro act wrong, you can get the money and leave. So even though for them that's good advice, it's really scarring you because now it's to a point where you can't trust a man because this is what your mother has drilled into your head. Or, you know, some people tell their kids don't have sex. Sex is bad. Sex is wrong. Sex is this. Then you get married, and it's like, go have sex. See, that's the difficult thing about sex in the Bible is that sex is the only sin that's a sin sometimes and then a blessing at other times. So what happens is, my pastor always says, I spend more time trying to get non-married people to stop having sex and making married people have sex. Because I think with sex, I think it's a mental thing. I used to do this program with Georgetown. I used to get college students. So one of my college students was from another country. And she was saying in our country, we can drink anytime. There's no 18 or whatever. I don't drink, so I don't even know what the drinking age is, but 18, 21, whatever. And I said, man, that must be crazy. You know, I bet everybody's drunk over there. And she was like, nah, it's the opposite. There aren't DUIs. There aren't, you know, because I think it's something in our human brain that when we hear don't do, we try to figure out how to do. So I can remember being outside the liquor store, like, yo, old head, can you go get me a 40 or do, you know what I mean? Some people don't even like drinking, don't even like the way it tastes, but it's just like, you tell me not to, boom, I'ma do it. So it's something about sex that is like, deep down inside, I think we all know we shouldn't be having sex before marriage. Whether it's biblical, whether because your mother told you, but sex before marriage is exciting. It's wonderful, it's secretive. In high school, it'd be like, knock on the door 3 times, and I'm gonna come downstairs and let the phone ring once, and now I know it's you, and I'm gonna play sick, and you gonna play sick, and it's like a secret plan going on. Then you get married, and it's like, have sex, and it's like, really? Like, why? Like, there's no, like the whole thrill is gone because now it's like, it's legal. It's something about when something becomes legal that's just not fun. When I used to smoke weed in college, it was so much. Yeah, for years.
You should have taken my class.
Hey, that's on camera.
It's a little too late now, but yes, it was on camera. But at the end of the day, that was what was so fun about it, because it was wrong, and I got to the point I forgot weed was illegal. I was walking to school one day smoking a blunt, and my man pulled up on me like, "What are you doing?"
Nobody told Lady
He's like, "No, that's still illegal, man."
Wait, are you kidding?
No, I was smoking a blunt on my way to school. Like it was a cigarette. Because I smoked so much, I totally forgot it was illegal.
That's the past.
Yeah, that's the past.
No, but I just...
No, Oh my God.
You never smoked
No, you scared.
No.
Roz,
Never.
not the Roz.
You never smoked a blunt?
No.
I haven't either, and really,
I don't do those things.
really, you know, we was talking about religion and all that stuff, but really, I don't even think it has anything to do with it, because really, as far as marriage and all that stuff, to me, you know, I was never raised in a church, so it never really based on biblical.
Okay.
But as a person, I feel, even when we talk about sex and everything, I feel you should always consider the other person's feelings. As far as sex goes, you having sex, you know what you got to do for that, because with sex brings feelings for somebody else. It's not something that just happens and nothing happens after it. You know, so what I'm saying is, no, I mean, even so, even if that's true, I still think there's a point in it with those individuals, even though they never tell you, that in order to do it, you have to have some kind of feelings for somebody else. So what I'm saying is, even in your relationships.
Okay, excuse me. Well, I'm trying to figure that. Okay, wait a minute. So, you saying
in order to have sex with another individual, you have to have feelings for them to lay down with.
How about in order to make love?
Yeah.
Okay.
To another individual.
We were talking about sex a few years ago.
Well, see, that's the difference.
And
And
then people do one night stands all day long.
Okay, but if you're making love, then you're in a relationship.
Right. But that's what she was saying, the difference between just having sex. Well, and that's where we go wrong too, because as men, you know, my parents didn't teach me. My dad tried to teach me, but it was a horrible experience. So I just my dad like sat me down and like was like, let's talk about sex. And I'm like, really? And he broke out his book of cartoon people having sex. And I'm just like, dog, I know what I'm doing. And he was like, you good? And I said, I'm good. And I ain't know nothing. But this talk was so crazy that it was just like, I can't talk to you about this. You got cartoon people. Real people doing it. Maybe 12, 11, 12.
But Kil, tell the truth. In this group, I'm from a different age. So I'm 53. Right. So who's in here 40? You're 40. Okay. 43. But 43, okay, see, he's in a different group too. But what I'm saying is, look, I'm from a different time period. So now we're talking the new age people, which is 36,
right?
That has a different feeling about relationships, about sex. And really, in my opinion, I think that never entered my mind. If my wife don't want to be with me, guess what? I don't be with her. Right. I would never force myself on my wife, on any woman. I never did that. So, but that's me. And at a certain time, I quit reading dirty magazines, looking at dirty movies. Right. Quit doing that like 30 years ago, and I don't do it because, for one thing, my personal opinion, for me, I don't want to affect me on another individual. Right. But I don't have an opinion about other people's ideas because we all come from different walks of life. Like, she come from it and she explained herself. We wouldn't know about people unless they wanted to tell the story.
But the key is that with her, and if I'm dating her, we have to talk.
Right.
But that's the thing, in this new generation, is really not talking. Like, we go to the movies, we go to dinner, how was the movie, and then we do it.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, there's really not, that's a date. Right. Date without a sex back in the day was not a date. It was you know. So there's really not a lot of talking. So I never get to understand why she feels like she feels, because when she said money at first, every dude in here probably was like, gold. You know what I'm saying? But after listening to her, I totally understand where she's coming from. But that's the problem with the younger people. We're not taught to date. And what I mean by date is like get to know somebody. Not have sex with all these guys, but go out with 5 or 6 guys. Find out what you like. Find out, same thing with dudes. We should find out what we like and what we don't like, and what turns us on and what doesn't turn us on. But at the end of the day, you know, with sex now, it's just every generation to me gets worse. Right. Yeah. Because now my generation, I got 7th graders having head parties. Yep. You know, where they're just like, hey, all you guys come over to my house. Me and 3 of my girlfriends are giving head, and I'm like, where were these head parties when I was in 7th grade? So it's just like, wait a second, head in 1987 was like non-existent. You know, if you was my age. So now it's just like you're having head parties. Like, so at the end of the day, and I'm always trying to explain to my girls that you're scarring yourselves for when you get married. But so many of the people in my hood don't feel like they're going to live long. So a lot of my girls feel like, I want to enjoy life. I want to live life. You know, people in my neighborhood get shot, killed all the time. So what if I don't live to be 18? But my thing is, well, what if you do live to be 18?
You live to be 36.
Yeah. You know, but at the end of the day, I mean, I've got girls who are 14 who've had sex with over 30 guys.
Oh my.
You know, so you're really looking at like this girl is just like mentally just screwed up in her head. You know, mentally screwed up. And it's not that she's having guys with people who are 12. She's having sex with grown men who are 25, 26.
Going up.
Right, going up. So it's these things that, you know, it's messing up this next generation because their mindset of sex is just going to be, you know, destructive. And even when we're not taught about sex as men, I know me, I learned sex through porn. Which, like you said, isn't really a good way to learn it. Because when I got married, I had to really pray, like, God, teach me how to make love to my wife. Not try to bang her and, you know, push your hand to her head. You know, but yeah, teach me how to make this be a loving act. Because that's what it's supposed to be. So that's why I think you were saying when you have to have feelings.
You have to want
because it's right. It's supposed to be a loving act. But I think for most men, we don't look at sex as a loving act. Like I was taught by my old heads, bang as many chicks as possible. Don't catch feelings, you know, and just bang them.
But see, we like now. See, like I said, I'm 50, and you don't have a generation that would give you some information that you need to know for everybody's on a different keel. And so you don't have a generation telling you, okay, the same thing happens this generation, that generation. It seems like everybody do whatever's come to mind, willy-nilly. Right. So they don't have nobody telling them from the past, this is how you're supposed to do it.
Well, and why is that? Why is that? Which brings us back to the whole family unit.
We don't share information. We don't want to share information.
And if mom and daddy rolling out and doing what they want to do, if the mother and the daughter going to the club together wearing the same clothes, that's a problem.
And that's why you said you want to arrange marriage, because his thing of marriage seemed different because the parents really got into the concern about their.
Well, I don't know if I want it, but I
mean, and the key is that you've got to, it's got to be something where you're talking about, because like you said, we don't want to share information, and that's why marriage is fair. Right. Because we act like our marriage is all together. You know, we don't want to share and say, well, we're having problems here. Because that should be what the point is. Like, if me and him are friends, he should be able to come to me and say, well, Kil, me and my wife going through this. And I can say, oh man, I went through that year 3 too. This is how you can solve it. But the pride won't let him tell another man what the problem is. So it's no way that, it's like, marriage is like playing Monopoly. Imagine playing Monopoly and not knowing the directions. You would just be going around the board, you wouldn't know to collect 200, you wouldn't know to buy hotels, you wouldn't know anything, and that's what marriage is. And you're just going around this board in circles and circles, because this is what my best man's father told me the day before I got married. This was the advice I got. He said, Kil, shake them, but don't hit them. Just shake them, but don't hit them.
That's horrible.
He said, congratulations. And I said, thank you, Mr. Rudy. That's wonderful advice. So shake her, but don't hit her. And that was the advice I got. My dad didn't give me any advice. Nobody gave me any advice. It's like that just doesn't, and I get mad because nobody tells you anything. Yeah. Nobody told me.
It does upset you.
And people know me. So people know I ain't got no patience. Like, my man, you patient, I ain't patient. I want stuff now. So I bought my daughter a dog, a little Yorkie. Somebody who all my friends, now I ain't gonna get mad at you too, Roz, but somebody should have said, Kil, are you sure you want to buy her a puppy? Because you're not patient. See, nobody told me you had no, right. I know. That's why I didn't tell you. But I don't have the patience to potty train no dog. See, somebody should have said, well, if you're gonna get a Yorkie, they stay small. So why don't you get one that's 2 or 3? Who's potty trained already, your daughter won't know the difference. Yeah. See, somebody should have told me that. But none of my friends told me that. You know what I mean? And it's just, we don't give advice about nothing. The only advice we give is when somebody calls us like, yo, my girl acting up, or, you know, whatever, and half the time it ain't good advice. It's like, well, girl, let's go to the club.
Girl, leave him.
You know, it's quick, but we've got to learn to start being more open, being more honest, saying what we need, saying where we have problems, so that we can get better on them.
I think that's why Kil and I became friends, because I went to work the next day and I was like, Kil, let me gauge. And he was like, you sure that's what you want to do? I was like, well, dang, Debbie Downer, where's the congratulations? But then after, I mean, he gave me the best piece of advice that, I don't think, do you remember? We had like this long, drawn-out conversation.
Outside Woodson.
Yeah, you were like, look, Roz, this is how marriage works. you better act like the mistress at all times. And I was like, what? No, he loves me, right? But then he was like, what you won't do, Sally down the street will do. I don't know if he said Sally. He may have said Trashika down the street will do. And I was like, you know what? You have a point. I mean, I just didn't think about it in that, because as women, and I am generalizing this, but as women, we get so caught up in the whole glitz and glam of what the wedding and, you know, Jasmine, the first girl I've ever met that said they don't really think about marriage, or
she's 18.
No, I mean,
but even listen, see, this is what you need to understand about women. Even when we're playing with our Barbie dolls, Ken and Barbie get married. There's a full wedding. That's why there's a huge dollhouse.
Every chick is
no, I'm serious.
It's based off of, I think, how you were raised. Did you dream about getting married, playing with your bar? See what I mean? You always love to say every woman is the same. Roz, no, don't try to persuade her. That's what you want to do. You like, but didn't you? No, let it be.
But didn't you think about relationships? But didn't you?
Of course.
Yeah.
I grew up with just my mother. No father at all. So it was just her. So she basically taught me to do my own thing too.
But you thought about relationships.
Yeah.
See, no, but see, don't try to keep butting her. She said,
but women think about relationships. You have think about sex. I think that's the difference.
That's a different statement. See, Roz, that's marriage. Because at first you said every girl dreams about being married. Now you're gonna switch it to relationships.
No, I think okay. So
played with your bar.
I thought about a wedding before. I thought about a wedding.
Right. Hell, I thought about a wedding before.
At some point,
I thought about everything about a wedding, but
at some point,
but she wasn't playing with her Barbie dolls like you.
Maybe she don't remember, but
no, she didn't do it.
But I'm just saying, at some point. Most girls.
And see, this is where marriage gets hard, because if this my wife, see, I can't joke with her like that. We can joke because we friends, but we was married. Don't tell me what other women are gonna do. I'm a woman. I know the women, and you don't. But like, cause you twice.
No.
She said she thought about relationships.
No.
She thought about that.
Griselda, you said you thought about a wedding. Yes.
As a child.
At some point in your life.
Yes.
Everybody thinks about a wedding at some point in their life.
Disney movie and think about a wedding.
But I'm saying more prevalent. The point I was making is more prevalent for women. We think about relationships.
You can't say that.
While we think of,
Yes, it is.
Listen, we think about relationships when we're much younger, because women are relational.
Okay, what about
Kil said it. You guys are told to go out and bang every chick that you meet.
That ain't true.
I didn't say everybody. See, I didn't generalize, and I said me.
Matter of fact, I wouldn't
in my
nobody.
In 1989 said that. Now I don't know what people saying and what they were saying in 93. But in 89 they were saying go out and have sex with as many women as possible. Don't fall in love and do your thing.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Ross. If what you were saying, that generalization is so true, why are there more women prostitutes than men?
Well,
for the money.
why there were more women prostitutes than men? Let's think about this. Let's think about, that's a great question. So let's think about, did we talk about oxytocin in here?
Yeah.
No. We talking about that the first time.
We talking about the first place.
Yeah, not in this.
Oh, I can't believe I didn't have a conversation about oxytocin.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm gonna put some money on me.
Okay. You have to understand that sex is an emotional connection. It is for women. We release this hormone, it's the oxytocin hormone. We get emotionally connected to the person. Now, for some prostitutes, it's about I gotta make a living. But you can always, McDonald's is always hiring. You understand what I'm saying? So to make the choice to go prostitute, and I'm saying people that are making the choice to do this, not people that are forced into prostitution. It's two totally different things. But making the choice to be a prostitute over, because I'm sure your pimp is not gonna let you have $50 a night if I had many folks you said. I mean, I'm sure that's just not gonna happen. But you can pretty much go make $250 a week at McDonald's. You know, if you work hard so you can make money, right? So for a person to go and choose to be a prostitute, you can go ahead. You gotta go put money in the meter. To choose to go be a prostitute, it's more so about them looking for that connection with someone. See, the difference between men and women, men also release oxytocin, but the difference is you guys get connected to the feeling, to the release. As women, we get connected to the person. Big difference. So when she's out there looking for that John, she's looking to get a feeling. She's trying to connect with someone. And obviously she doesn't have enough in her to think that she can actually be someone legitimately.
Now that's true, what you're saying.
Thank you.
Yeah, because really, you're right. That's how emotionally you women connect by the touch, and you think more of it than we men do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that is true.
And that's why I said, because women are relational. See, I know, y'all got me in here thinking I'm crazy, but I know women.
Well, what about the women that have those sexual acts and just act like they don't even know the guy next day?
Yeah, that's still expressing that emotion. That's still expressing that emotion, yeah. And what she's doing is, that's a defense that she's put up. I'm gonna ignore you before you ignore me, because I really don't know how you're gonna treat me.
Not really. No, we don't ignore.
No, I don't.
No, look,
I think
if
it's
a
totally
woman
different.
said to you, even if you was mad at her, and a woman wanted to be with you, you would not say no.
It depends on the woman.
No.
It depends on me.
Man, you would
But my point, the difference is, when you can lay down with somebody and like, you've gotten what you needed and you moved on. It's not ignoring her because you're putting up this self-defense of, she may hurt me. You just got what you needed from the person. You made your deposit,
when you say
and now you rolling.
And when you say like a woman want to have a connection with someone, do you mean just the short term or just connection forever?
Listen, we can't.
We
can't decipher if we have sex with you and we have an orgasm, then we're emotionally bonded to you.
Right.
There's no way around it.
See, the reason I disagree, because if that's the case, the act shouldn't keep going on. You got career prostitution. This is stuff from biblical days. This ain't nothing new.
No,
this is stuff that's been going on in this time.
No, I hear you.
So if that's the case, the stuff will be short-lived.
No, you have to think
After
about
10, 20, 30 guys,
you have to think about the mentality of people, though. You have to think about their background and what people go through.
No, that thing
and
is,
so, listen, you have to think about if you have been damaged and you think this is all that you're good enough for, then this works for you.
Actually,
but if you've been in a quality relationship with your father first, and your father told you can do better than this, and you don't do this and you don't do that, then you don't go looking for that. But if nobody's ever given you that message, then you think that this okay. This becomes normal for you.
I did some research on prostitution. The thing is, the wrong thing about the misconception, the prostitution is not controlled by the women itself. They don't choose to become a prostitute. It's the man behind the women who actually controls. You're saying 30 years, if you go to a brothel, look at the brothel, you'll see how they are treated, how they cannot get out of that situation. They try to get out of that situation.
But there are some people that choose
over here
Nobody
too.
forces half them women to go in the strip club.
That's another misconception. Look at the statistics. You'll see that over here, most of the prostitutes are forced, kidnapped, and become a sex slaves. And a lot of the people over here don't know that. Look at DC. You'll see that 14 years girls are.
That might be of what's reported, but no.
No, that's the statistics. That's the statistics.
No, please don't think that sex slaving is not happening here.
It's big. There was an interview.
You can't say that's the majority.
No, that's the majority. That's the majority. That's the statistics. I mean,
you're saying that's older than slavery.
Yeah, it's the interview that they took from over here.
Prostitution ain't older than slavery.
Are we talking about strippers or are we talking about prostitutes? Because you mentioned strippers at one point.
One tends to the other.
Because that's very different. Go walk into a strip club on your own accord is very different than being forced on the street by somebody else making you be a prostitute.
Well, what about a woman that sold her virginity?
Another thing.
Oh my, women are forced. When someone can get control over you, it's possible. It's you have a daughter? You have a daughter?
No. Thank God.
You have sons?
Yeah.
But how do you get control over your sons? You make them mind you. That doesn't change when people get older.
2 years or 3 years
old.
Yeah,
it doesn't change.
Some women become prostitutes at 30 years old.
It doesn't change.
Yeah, but their background. You gotta know their background. You gotta know what's up. It ain't.
What do we know about classical conditioning? Now, going back to the class.
Yeah, the other part people don't realize.
And operant conditioning.
Yeah, the other part.
Punishment rewards. You don't do what I say, I'm gonna knock you out.
Yeah, that's one kind of control. The other control that they have is the drugs. Most of the prostitution that happens, they are addicted to drugs, and that keeps them on the streets and other. The main part of the DC over here, there was a prostitute. She was forced to be a prostitute, and she told the story of her life, how she became a prostitute. Her own relatives sold her out. Yeah. That's what happened most of the cases. What happens is, when you think that, okay, she's been doing that for a while, she doesn't know anyone else. She depends on that team. And the first thing they do is they gang rape her. Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing they do. They totally destroys her and they make her to become a prostitute. Okay. And that's been happening all the ages. Yeah. And it's like a slavery. It's called sex slavery. It's all over the world. That's why human trafficking is it's most profitable business in the world.
Yes, it is.
No one wants to become a prostitute. That's
we all start off the same.
People really do want to be.
That's the majority.
For the money.
It cannot be.
That's not that they like doing it, but they want to do it for the money.
That's done.
No, that is the majority.
That's the majority. That's
this whole.
Yeah, that's done.
A lot of people get caught up in this whole.
Okay, so what about the ones?
But not all prostitutes have
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, those that do not have hips.
I do believe
those that choose. Those that choose to prostitute. And not have a pimp, say there's a big difference. We're talking about two different things.
But that's not the majority.
We're talking about those that are being forced.
But
those that are being forced are the majority at this point in time.
I can't say how you can say that. I can't see how
it's been researched. You have the
not because and the research is only based on those that step forward to be recorded. That's all.
On the base percentage, 90% of the prostitutes are forced.
I find that real hard.
Sex.
How does it have relationships?
I forgot the number, but I did an article on that. I was writing my research based on prostitution. I was writing how Netherlands has a
relationship because look.
Legal prostitution.
We're talking about relationships,
but
right?
still in Netherlands,
let's take a break.
Eastern European women are forced into